Well, alrighty then. So, George Conant here. It's Saturday, about 5 o'clock, and we're in a real remote area of the southeastern Adirondacks. And just listening to the wind in the trees here and the songbirds tweeting away. It's a real pleasant spot here. And yeah, I was going to go out and try my hand at fishing, but the wind has picked up on the lake out there, and I'm a little disinclined to use this eensy-weensy teeny-tiny canoe that, you know, my big frame, and it's a 13-foot canoe, and my first day using it was today, this morning, and I managed to catch a couple of perch for breakfast. That was nice. Cooked them on an open fire like that, yeah. And I met some nice people here. Real nice people come to visit this lake, and it's off the beaten trail. You know, you kind of have to know where it is. They call it Loch Muller, and I've been coming here since about 1977, 1978, I think 77, maybe even 1976. Introduced to the area by a good friend of mine, Mike Hoblin, and I've been using a lot of bug dope, and it works. I have to say that you know, this is a part of the world where mosquitoes and black flies, and I mean, they will come and get you. But today they've backed off, and with the bug repellent, done a real good job keeping me comfortable here while I'm poking around the woods and walking my dog and trying out the new canoe. Yeah, August, I think I'm August 9 today, in 2020, and it's real. I was really inspired to come out into the hill country here and go to my favorite lake and get some peace and quiet and listen to the loons. Made my camp last night. It was not much of a camp. I'm just in the back of my pickup, and the loons were just so haunting and beautiful, the sounds that they make. I've never actually seen one in the act. If I can capture one on camera, that would be fabulous. And maybe later tonight, I'll just run the camera at night and see if we can capture some of the sounds. But the reason I really needed to get out and do some fishing is I hadn't done it in 5 years at least. I think the last time I was fishing was on the St. Lawrence River at a place called Akwesasne, and with my good friend Lloyd. And we caught a bunch of bass and had a bass dinner. And I just caught a black fly. Anyway, yeah, it's been an interesting summer, to say the least. The so-called pandemic, not to minimize injured and dead from the virus. You know, a bad flu is a bad flu, and they kill, and it's not fun. And I feel for everybody who's impacted by this illness. I have my opinions about it, and you know, I'm finding in the community I'm surrounded in, Um, it's very divided. I've seen a real demarcation, a line in the sand, if you will, between people regarding um, regarding the prophylactic of using a mask, whether it's effective or not, whether, you know, as though it is the saving grace that's keeping everybody from getting it. And I think there's more harm than good in a lot of levels, And part of the reason I guess I'm here in a remote area is to really just sort of get away from the energy of discord and hostility. Now, I don't advocate anything, and people who want to wear masks, fine, and I don't want to. I do if I have to go into a store and it says, you know, mask required. However, I think that, you know, walking around like out here would be silly. That's nonsense. Fresh air, sunshine, a good diet, some joy, some love. You know, that's a recipe for wellness. Exercise, uh, and doing things with other people. The isolation that's being prescribed by officialdom is, I don't think that's a good thing. I don't think we should be isolating from each other. You know, I read a lot, and I see a lot of different presentations on, you know, YouTube and online and various other websites and such. And, you know, it runs the gamut. You know, that this is a terrible thing, it's killing everybody, and, you know, everybody should be upset about it, and, you know, staying home. And then this business of essential business. What's an essential business? You know, is my business not essential? You know, I do a lot of different things. I'm a carpenter, I'm a builder, I design things, I repair things. You know, managed a movie theater. I don't see the cinema coming back anytime soon. I think it should. I think the social restrictions should really be put on the individuals and communities where they find themselves. Much like Sweden. You know, the Swedish model, I think, is a success story in a huge way, but there is political haymaking to criticize Sweden's approach as somehow not having been the right road for them. Well, I think it's the right road for them, and I think it's the right road for us and everybody. And with all of the, shall I say, citizen reporters who have probably gone online to tell their stories when these people would probably never get in front of a camera, should say something to everybody. It says something to me. Bugs. You know, these are part of life. These insects, that they come and they bite me, and, you know, they take a little chunk of skin off, and they get the blood to bleed, and then more come after you. You know, that's what they do. You know, I think the word that I meditated on that came to me as I meditated on all of this is sterile. This is, folks, this is what we're being told. We're being told that no one can be trusted because the virus is out there, right? And since 80% of us don't even show symptoms, or if we do, they're very mild, and we don't really get sick. And then there's the whole issue of under 16 years old. These kids aren't even getting sick at all. Seemingly, they're not susceptible to it. And, you know, a good friend of mine over many, many years is in the other camp, and he's always reading and sending me links to the New York Times and Washington Post and various other publications that are very alarmist and reporting things that I don't believe are entirely true. I don't. In some cases, they may be partially true. Some cases, they may be true. They might be true. But in a lot of cases, there's a lot of conflicting reporting from citizen reporters. Some of these citizen reporters are doctors. Some of them are emergency technicians. Some of them are nurses. Some of them are lawyers. Some of them are average people who have noticed things. In any event, you know, the word that comes to me and came to me is sterile. Well, you know, they want to sterilize all surfaces. Hand sanitizer. Some of the worst stuff you can do is hand sanitizer. What's being obliterated is any, okay, not just some, but any connection to the natural world. That is what's really going on here, folks. Alright, you know, now I have some native friends and elders and teachers over the decades that would talk about this in a little bit different context, about being separated from nature. And I came up, you know, before I ever started associating and living with and learning from the native community in New York State and Canada. I came to the idea that, you know, we're always in a box, right? We sleep in a bedroom. Most of our bedrooms are not round, they're square, okay? They're cubes, right? We live in boxy houses, boxy rooms. We drive around in a little car that, I mean, for all intents and purposes, they're little boxes, they're packages. Yeah, okay, the Volkswagen Beetle is a little bit of a round object, but, you know, kidding aside, folks, we are in a box all the time. And increasingly, we are in a box inside, separated from out here, outside, under the sun, in the fresh air. And if we were to quantify that, right? Okay, let's quantify that. How much, any of you can do this, how much time a day are you indoors or in a car? And do that for yourself. And if you were actually to sort of, you know, quantify that and log it down, do that for a day. Do that for a week. I mean, most of us is pretty predictable. At least it used to be. I mean, since March 13th here in the New York State, at least, it's been very different. Everybody's been kind of on a forced stay-at-home vacation. And being, you know, if you're eligible for it, you know, paid to do it. But there are consequences to this tact. Oh, if it only saves one life, it's worth it. No, no, because if it destroys 10,000 lives and saves one, you have a problem. This is a logic failure. I wrote an essay called Logic Failure. One of these days I'll read it online. I'll read it to you guys. I'm talking to you, through a camera. I'm looking at a camera that's listening to me. And then I have to download it onto the computer and then upload it to YouTube and, try to get my conversation with you. But this is what we're being reduced to, you see, in a box, and there's always going to have to be a medium, a digital medium, in between you and me. I'm just listening to the bird sounds. I don't know if you can hear them, but they have their conversations, and because there's no machinery at the moment, when a car about a mile away goes past the lake here, you can hear it. You can hear it coming, you can hear it pass, and you can hear it going, and you can hear people talking from across the lake over the people that live here, live in the area. You can hear other campers when they're here. Right now I'm sharing the lake with two other people, and they've got a nice campsite, further away from the lake. I'm in a more of a rugged spot, and there's no place to put up a tent properly, really. It's really uneven ground, but I'm just sleeping in the back of my pickup truck, and I'm happy with that. But back to the conversation and the separation. I have to ask you all, this isn't normal. Just so you know. We're social creatures. And we're being told that we have to sterilize, sanitize, wipe down surfaces constantly to stop the spread of the dreaded coronavirus. A coronavirus that somehow morphed into something unrecognizable by the human immune system, so they say. Well, no, that's not true. That's complete bullshit. And what's really the thought here is that there's a couple of arguments that no matter how many times you make these arguments, there's never an answer. They just say that you have to comply, or you're crazy for asking questions or putting up the argument. The argument is, let's go to vaccines. I don't trust vaccines. I've seen them do damage, so it's a personal issue for me. When a perfectly normal human being, healthy human being, whose immune system has not been tampered with, is living with, shall we say, healthy habits, unpolluted food, and I'm not vegan, I'm not vegetarian, I'm an omnivore. I think most humans are, where we live by our environment. I remember anyway, I don't want to digress. The point is, the immune system, the human immune system, has brought us, for however many thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, or millions of years human beings have been in existence on this planet and possibly any other planet. Possible, right? And through all of this experience, there's, so we are told, 7 point something, 6 billion people sharing the earth right now. I don't know that that's a real number. So there's that argument. I just how many people really are there. Do cities happen? Yes, there's a lot of cities. Be that as it may, we have a whole history that, quite frankly, we know very little about. And what we do know is suspect. So we probably know next to nothing about who we are, why we're here, what we're doing, and where we're going. The road signs that I'm looking at as we're going down the highway of our collective reality aren't looking good to me. My opinion. But that word sterile, they want us to create a sterile world. They separate animals from plants in our farming. They shouldn't do that. Animals and plants work together. They feed each other, literally. I am so impacted right now by the fresh air up here. There's so much oxygen in the air. I'm actually, feeling it. And that's from the breath of the trees. I feed them my carbon dioxide, they feed me their oxygen. Okay, it's a symbiotic relationship. And let me tell you folks, it's a living relationship. Living, okay, remember that. Living, all right? We're being told to sterilize everything, even ourselves, like through Planned Parenthood, right? Birth control, all this other stuff. Sterile means dead. Okay, that's why I keep repeating it. Because I want you to understand that all these chemicals that people are smearing on surfaces, whether they kill or clean or disable or remove a virus or not, is immaterial to everything else that it kills. Because basically, these are poisons, right? So you're cleaning with poison. Think about that. There's a kind of an oxymoron there. To me, you're poisoning with poison. Your hand sanitizers are poisoning the natural bacteria in your skin. You are, as a human being, all of us, we are collections of bacteria. All over our skin, all over in our gut, in our blood. There's all kinds of bacteria. There's all kinds of biota. Let's put it that way. Microbes. And when we are in a healthy, living state, all that stuff works together. When something is damaged, a good way to describe this would be mechanically, like a piece of machinery. What happens when your washing machine is out of balance and your jeans are lopped over to one side and it's spinning around? Right? The thing just starts bashing itself to pieces. Well, biologically, that's analogous to, say, not getting enough roughage and vegetable in your diet, causing you to have constipation, which is one of the biggest killers. It causes heart disease, it causes cancer. Constipation is bad stuff. And a lot of us are constipated, don't even know it, because this is how we grew up on typical bad American diets. It's gotten better. In my generation, it's gotten better, but I grew up in the 60s, and health consciousness wasn't really happening yet. It was for some people, natural peoples, people who are agricultural peoples. With industrialization, there's always been a pushback by, farming people for living food, okay? We need living food, we need to ingest living food in order to make our living bodies stay alive. So viruses, there's a lot of different information about them, and it's quite contradictory. And the deeper I dig into these, drilling down into this different information, it becomes more and more apparent that there's a real divide, and it's almost like medical philosophies more than facts. And probably the single greatest piece of evidence that impacts me in my thinking is the profit motive of big pharmaceutical companies. But it's not just profit motive, folks. You know, I came to a real place about that a long time ago. And that is, you know, everybody thinks, oh, you know, war is all about profiting, and, you know, these corporations are all about profiting, and it's all about making money. It's, you know, it's about the 1% of the 1%, and they have all the, you know, power to make all the money. And, you know, let's hold the phone, folks. They got all the money. This is what they call, I'm in what they call the Adirondack State Park. This is actually Mohawk Territory. It's been under litigation for 60, 70, 100 years. It was removed from the jurisdiction, shall we say, of the Mohawk Nation 100 years ago, whenever this park was created. And so the treaty territories of the Haudenosaunee, the Five-Nation Confederacy, I'll name them. The western door is the Seneca, and then you have the little brothers of the Cayuga, and then there's the Central Fire, the Onondaga, and I'm forgetting one there, one of the little brothers, and then the eastern door is the Mohawk. Let's see. Seneca, Cayuga, Onondaga. Oh, I'll have to come back to that. My memory's getting a little weak because of all the stress we're under. Oneida, there you go. Oneida and the Mohawk. That's the Five-Nation Confederacy. And they have territories all through New York State to this day. But for a nation that is only, let's see, 1776, 1976 was 200 years, so we're only 230 some years, you know, it's just, that's small change. That's a young nation as far as, you know, nations in the world go. The Mohawk Nation and the Seneca Nation and Five Nations all together, they've been around for thousands of years, maybe tens of